And we're back with the podcast. All right. So today's episode, well, not so much episode, but today's segment is what I meant to say. Today's segment, we'll be talking about the toxicity in the community. I'll be going over a lot of things that I personally have seen create a toxic environment for the community. And one of the biggest issues that is going on and how bad the situation has gotten over the years. Okay. So we're going to talk about now, I should do some content warning stuff here. So all things that we talk about that happen to do with different situations that have happened in the community, remember, a lot of the stuff is still considered alleged. All situations and situations, accusations, and rumors, and what was it, the other one? It's and allegations are considered alleged, and they are alleged until proven in the court of law. The other thing I would like to point out is here's the content warning. We're going to be talking about a lot of deep shit today, a lot of dark shit too, and you all need to understand that the conversation is going to be extremely adult. If you do not have the brain capacity to do that, I would advise you to pass this. But I would advise that everyone eventually listen to this episode, because there are some serious things that we need to talk about that leads to the problems in the community. Now, again, the content warning that I was giving, I want to preface this because you guys are going to hear a lot about me talk about certain things. Understand this, I am not talking in generalities when I talk about certain stuff. We will be talking about race. We will be talking about sexism. And there are a lot of things in this episode that are going to sound misogynistic if you're not listening properly. Pay attention to what I am saying, and you will understand that it is not misogynistic to call out certain fucking problems that exist in the community. And in a lot of cases, you're going to find out that you're going to hear me use the term cis white female. There's a reason. There is a reason. And I will be talking only about the people that are perpetrating the problems in the community. Now, understand this. There are a lot of cis white females in the community. That does not mean that every single one of them is guilty of what the fuck I am talking about. No. The ones that are guilty of it are the ones that are both benefiting and perpetrating. Do not think anything other. That is the truth. Now, understand this. We will be talking about all genders. And we will be explaining about why the problem continuously persists. All right, now that we've gotten out of the way, let's continue. One of the biggest problems in this community that feeds into the toxicity of the community that is like a miasma around it is the fact of there is no accountability. The reason why there is no accountability is due to the fact that accountability in the community is based off of racism and sexism. The cold hard truth about this is just that if you are a cis white female who is a sex worker in the community, you are safe no matter what you do. Very similar to when Donald Trump said he could shoot someone on 7th Avenue and no one will ever arrest him for it, is almost in par with a lot of the women in this community, because there is a lot of shit that they have done that has been real bad. And when we are talking about these particular women, we are talking about sex workers. We are talking about sex workers who are out there breaking the law and breaking the rules of the community and putting people in danger and doing dangerous shit that could get the community attacked for no fucking reason. Understand this. Normies exist in the world, right? They do not need an exact reason to attack the entire community, other than the fact that they will enjoy to be able to be someone's judge, jury, and executioner. And when people start doing dumb shit like this, it makes the community look bad. You need to understand. We as a country are in a place of sexual renaissance. where people are awakening to things that they didn't even know was actually a thing. And where you're seeing more polyamorous and kink relationships take center stage. Recently, a lot of media has been focusing on the ABDL community. We will be talking about that type of media in pretty soon. However, we need to understand that if this type of exposure is what leads to more people coming into the community. However, with the current state of the community and its issues, we definitely needed to clean up the community because there are a lot of fucking problems. Now, let's go back to the whole cis white female thing. So, cis white females in the community that happen to be sex workers are essentially protected. And the reason why I say this is, it's not because that means that nothing can happen to them. That's not what I'm saying. It doesn't mean that they are lying 90% of the time. That's not what I'm saying either. Because they do suffer, they do go through traumatic experiences. They do. However, you have sex workers that are going out of their way to harm other people, that are going out of their way to destroy people's lives. There's a situation that will be talked about in a later episode in which you guys will understand exactly what I mean by that. However, you need to understand the biggest issue that we're having in the community right now is toxicity. So we're going to focus on the toxicity. Case in point. So you see, sex workers today have this thing where a matter of fact, let's talk about Colorado. I know a lot of people are like, oh boy, here we go with the popular crowd shit. No. We need to talk about not the popular crowd per se, but how the popular crowd formed. Let's go back roughly, let's say, several years, right? We'll say what, maybe about 6, 7, because I think they didn't really form it until somewhere in the 2020s, 2021s or something like that. But basically, what took place was there were a lot of people in the community who were wanting to work together as sex workers, because a lot of these sex workers have made their money by doing independent sex work online, right? What they were doing is that they were using OnlyFans at the time, because OnlyFans was allowing that, and a lot of them wanted to work with other sex workers, and they thought that it would help better each other's career. They weren't wrong per se. It's just that it took a really dark turn afterwards. You see, a lot of the sex workers, even though they enjoyed working together, their biggest issue is that they didn't trust one another. A matter of fact, they viewed each other as each other's competition. By viewing each other as competition and not co-workers or friends, this led to them doing some really underhanded shit. Now, what happened is that they all decided that they were all going to move into one central area and make that one central area the mecca of ABDL sex work. This so-called mecca, and I say that with quotation marks, was Colorado, Denver, Colorado. A lot of them moved to the Colorado area in order to be able to work with each other. The problem is that a lot of them during that time that they were around each other were collecting information on one another, because they all thought they were friends at one point. And what they did is that they started collecting information and then doxing said information against each other when one of them became too fucking popular. This was something that was seen with a girl. Funny enough, this is when I kind of figured that they started collecting information on one another, was during the time that one of the models had her age revealed to the entire internet. And the reason why it was revealed is because she had became too popular, more popular than a certain someone who is the popular girl in the community now, or filled with infamy, depending on which way you want to see it. But the point is that the situation happened where her age got out, and she was incredibly upset about it. Now, was it right for these girls to go out there and reveal her age like that? No. Because if someone was to have done it to them, the first thing that they want to do is jump up and start saying about how they're being abused. See the problem here? And now I know you're wondering, why the fuck does that matter? Because the clientele that a lot of people that buy the content of a lot of these sex workers, now understand this, not everybody that buys the content is this, but their most major buyers, meaning their biggest fans, are these particular type of people. And that particular type of people are incels. We'll get to why they're important, because that goes into a lot of the other toxicity in the community too. But what happened is that they essentially knew that that was going to be their major focal point. That's their bread and butter, right? That particular crowd of people. Now, the thing is that amongst incels, it is a thing where they believe that once you hit 30, you're no longer a viable candidate for someone to pine over. They feel that you are no longer fertile or prime, or nobody will care like you because your looks are done. And this is not true. And they don't believe that either. But you have a lot of people who buy into that thought process that are in that popular crowd today. They actually, they are very much so focused on that. They are very much so focused on it. And that's the thing. The issue that we're having right now is that this type of personality, this type of flaw, let's say personality flaw, where they just start backstabbing each other, became a mainstay amongst these sex workers that happen to be in Denver, where they will go behind each other's back, collect information, and then dox each other on it. There have been multiple times where people's real names have been doxed and said out loud at parties and events where people who didn't know them would definitely hear it. Or there is a situation where a particular one of them will go out of their way to go and actually tell everybody what that person's name actually is. Now, I know you're wondering, isn't that dangerous as with them being sex worker? Oh yeah, 100%. But they don't care about that, because as long as if something happens to you and you're no longer able to do sex work, that's good. Because you know why? Because you're no longer the competition. Now, I know you're thinking, yeah, that's pretty fucking dark, right? Yeah, because it is. It is. You are willing to throw someone's safety down the drain in order so that you are the only one to make X amount of money. Now, understand this. We're not talking about buku amounts of money. We're not talking about $5,000-$6,000 here, right? We're talking about, at best, maybe somewhere around like some people were making like something like 10,000 a month at one point, and that's how they would have gotten to the top of the leaderboard on Just for Fans. But this is, now we're talking about Just for Fans, because on OnlyFans it didn't matter. It didn't matter, because the only thing you knew, you were in the top 1 or 0.5 or whatever percentage. But with Just for Fans, everyone wants to be at the top of the leaderboard because they think that the top of the leaderboard somehow equals more money. That's not true. But because they believe it and they use it as a goalpost for themselves, they now believe this to actually be like an actual tried and true thing to focus on. This creates an entirely other fucking problem. Because of them wanting to be at the top of this leaderboard, they will do underhanded shit like I described before, such as doxing. Some of them have gone and had background checks done on some of these people. Some of them have used their information to try to find out like damaging information. There is a lot of shit that the popular crowd had did during those days, and they still do now. However, we do have situations where this has gotten way out of control. Now, Baby Blair ended up leaving the community, I want to say, after that situation, and she walked away. However, you have other models that have come into the game over time and have done even worse things, things than that. Now, I know some of you are like, why are you skipping over what we found out about last year? Because that's not the talking point for this. That's why. We are talking about the toxicity in the community. That was toxic as fuck, and those people are still toxic. That's not the problem. We're trying to get to the source of the toxicity. That's why. Now, after Baby Blair left, we know that Binky Princess was one of the people that also left around that time, I believe. I think she left around 2019, maybe 2018, something like. No, I think it was like 2020. We'll say 2020. Somewhere in the 2020s, I believe, is when she quit. And then she ended up, I think, on Shane Dawson, and it was like how she was only in the community for money. A lot of the sex workers are only there for money. And it's kind of funny because a lot of people who watch their content can tell it because they're not putting in the effort or acting like they enjoy it. If you can't act and you're not actually enjoying the kink and you're just here for an easy paycheck, yeah, the community will let you have it. That's something that the community has talked about for years, and they have never let that go. So I don't understand why some people think that they are just going to come in here for an easy paycheck, because that's not how it works. Anyway, continuing on. One of the major things that you'll notice is that, like I said, the whole leaderboard thing, right? Well, like I said, they ended up some people started trying to get to the top of the leaderboard in different ways. And some of them will start doing things that are illegal. Very illegal. Let's talk about that, right? So, in one particular case that happened, I believe it was last year or the year before, one particular model decided to go into a store, into the baby aisle, take her phone or whatever the fuck she was using to record, put it on one of the shelves and start masturbating in the baby aisle. Yeah, that was a real thing. This is not the only, illegal shit that they have been doing, like I said. But this is a good point to talk about. Why the fuck are we doing that? To entertain some of these type of people, these nerdowells, these incels that they are trying to entertain. They'll go out there and do things like putting on a onesie that has white supremacist imagery on it, and wearing a tinfoil hat while drawing Jeffrey Epstein on their diaper. Like, that makes any type of fucking sense. Some of them have worked for dudes who have open white supremacist belief systems. They will go out there and start, and like some of the models know for a fact that these people are white supremacists, and yet they still work for them because they think that they can get that quick dollar. My question to them and to all of you is, how poor are these people that was necessary? I don't think that any of that was necessary, but I do believe that a lot of these people dropped their moral compass and they dropped their humanity for some of this shit. And I feel that a lot of them have fallen into the idea of the thought process of incels, where they believe that women who do sex work are less than human. And I think that some of these sex workers are starting to believe that, because multiple times I've started hearing like sex workers, specifically some of these girls that are struggling to try to get to the top of the leaderboard, say things that equal to that of an incel. Like, nobody's going to want me when I turn 30. And a lot of them will say, oh, that was just a joke. It was not a joke. It's not a joke. And you can tell that it's not. Now, a lot of people might get angry at me for saying some of the stuff that I'm about to say, but this is why a lot of them go and try to get plastic surgery while they're still in their fucking 20s. It's unnecessary. It's completely unnecessary. But a lot of them will go and do it because of the fact that they do believe that. Some of them will go out here and struggle their hardest to try to make themselves look underage in order to sell content because they know who their clientele is. And that's some of the things that I have an issue with. Whenever I was first getting into the community, I was never there to see some girl try to look like she was underage. I was there because I enjoyed seeing women that wore like adult diapers and having fun and shit and doing the adult baby thing, right? Wearing pigtails, wearing the fucking onesies and everything. That's perfectly fine. I could tell that that's a woman. I start having issues when you start having women that actually are editing their photos to try to make themselves look underage. Recently, another popular model was actually like seen doing this. And I had to ask for a second opinion on that because I was like, I know that she's not actually doing that, right? And they were like, she kind of is. And I'm like, yeah, that's real bad. I don't know what the fuck. But then I saw that she started palling around with the popular kids. So knowing that they have had like their favorite people are pedophiles makes perfect sense. It makes perfect sense. I know some of you are going to be like, okay, that's a bit much of a comment. Is it though? Because like, again, that entire group of people were running around with a pedophile or an alleged pedophile for that matter. And they were running around with an alleged pedophile that they themselves claimed was a pedophile. No one threw that accusation but them. And then when people started questioning them on it, they started doing other shit to try to obfuscate from what they had already said. It's pretty fucking heinous, actually. Let's talk about the rumors and stuff like that, and accusations and allegations that come out of these people's mouths. Now, a lot of these people will go out here and make false allegations and false claims. They go out here, or they'll go out here and state something just so that they can damage someone's fucking name. Case in point, let's talk about the situation that happened last year, because that's a prime example. Now, I don't know if this person was framed. I'm not going to say that they were, but their story, the popular kids' story, has gotten kind of iffy nowadays. Because originally it started with, yeah, he's a pedophile. That's why I punched him in the face. That was the popular girl that said that stupid shit. Then it went to, well, we saw him, we walked in on him looking at CP. Okay, so he was looking at CSAM material. Okay, yeah. But did you call the police? No. Did you call anybody to go and deal with that? No. Well, then why the fuck are you telling it on a fucking T-board? Also, we will be talking about the T-board too. But why are you on a T-board talking about it? It doesn't make any sense. That's not going to solve anything because they didn't want to solve anything. They wanted to damage his name because they blamed him for their fucking business going down. But in actuality, their business failed because of them. It doesn't make any sense. But I'm going to tell you, they thought that it was socially advantageous to throw him under the bus. Why the fuck if anybody knows? Because there was no benefit to them doing it. But they did throw him under the bus, only for it to come out that they already knew that he was all of these things, and they had no problem with it. And they were willing to keep him on board. That's the thing you have to understand. They knew. They did know. Because he supposedly was going after underage girls while he was working for them. That was their whole thing. Or young girls is the way that they wanted to say it. Even though that's not illegal, as long as they're above the age of 18 and 21, right? As long as they're above the age that is consenting adults, then there's no issue. But the way that they were depicting it is that all the people were underage. So then I asked the question, why are you holding parties for underage people? And then inviting people into that space who are adults and into kink at an event that's actually themed after kink. It doesn't make any sense. There's no way you could cut this bread to make it into anything else. You can't. And when you question them on it, they get angry because they don't have an answer. They don't. But let's keep going with that, right? So they're going out of their way to tell you this fucking story about this guy. All right. Now, the story recently changed to, from we saw him looking at CP. We know the story of him going to South Korea, only for them to change the story and now say that he was suspected by them to be a pedophile. Not that he was, not that they saw shit, he is suspected. We have changed the narrative again. This is the fucking problem with this group of people. And their nonsense permeates to the other sex workers in the community. It does. Because there are other sex workers that are like, if these motherfuckers got away with it, why can't we get away with it? And that's the problem. You're making it a fucking issue. They're making it a fucking issue. Now, here's where the whole cis white woman thing comes in. And I'm going to give you an in general understanding of this shit, right? Because let's take the situation in which we just described about the pedophile that they had brought into the community. And now we're going to take another girl. We're going, for the sake of this, we're going to make up a person and use a real situation and actually apply it to that person, right? So I'm going to create another character. I'm going to create two characters here. One's name's Kelly. The other one is Sandra. Sandra is a black woman who happens to be ABDL, right? Kelly is a white woman, cis white woman who happens to be into ABDL. Now, Kelly is the one we're going to say is the one that was doing the same thing as what we learned last year with the popular kids. Sandra is the one that actually has a whole different thing here, right? Understand this. Neither one of these motherfuckers are how can I put it? Good people. We'll say it like that. Neither one of these two are good people at any fucking point in time. They are not good people. At all. Both of them are fucking problems. Now, the degree of problem is, I would say, on par with each other, actually. So, let's do this. So, in the case of of Kelly, Kelly went over here and brought a pedophile into the community, tried to pretend that she didn't know it was a pedophile, but then all of a sudden actually discovers it, or should I say, did know it was a pedophile. Under no circumstances did she not know. However, tries to put it off and claim that she didn't know, and then come up with several excuses that no longer fucking fit the narrative, right? Sandra was a well-known person who lived an alternate lifestyle, did a whole bunch of different categories of kink, but ABDL being one of their favorites. However, their other kink is really bad. I mean extremely bad. And that kink is bestiality. And Sandra has said that she was into bestiality and wanted to fuck an actual animal. And there is a possibility that she actually did. Now, we don't know if that was the case, but there are situations that are kind of making it seem like, yeah, that might have been a thing. So, now we have these two situations, right? And by the way, Sandra is based off of old posts that she had on her Twitter page. Now, want to hear what's the funniest thing about this? Sandra, who is a black woman, who, like I said, is also at fault here, was taken down by the community to the point that the community no longer has anything to do with her, right? However, Kelly is still there. And Kelly is constantly getting excuses for the shit that she does. Want to know what's the difference between the two? It's kind of obvious. Sandra's black. That's the truth. In this community, because of the way that incels view I shouldn't even say incels. The way that men in the community view women in the community, right? They view women in the community as basically like this. If you are a cis white woman who is a sex worker, you can do no wrong. If you are black, you don't need to be here. If you are Hispanic, you do not need to be here. If you are anything that is not pure, unadulterated white, cis, meaning no transgenders, none of that, then you are perfectly okay and you cannot have any fucking faults. I am not joking. The men in this community actually do view shit like this. Not all the men, but the ones that are, let's say, in the majority. That's the way they see it. I have a problem with that. I do. Now, again, Sandra was in the wrong. Sandra was 100% in the wrong. And she should be put in jail for what, if she did commit, bestiality, right? But you have these people who are out here doxing each other, who are out here doxing other people, who have been, like doing racist shit, like just straight out racist shit, and then try to go online and mask the fact that they were doing racist shit. That is something that is very big in the community. You will see people who have espoused how they don't like black people. You will have people who go out here and has never retweeted a single black person a day in their lives. But the moment it's pointed out is the first fucking moment that they go out of their way to start, all of a sudden they got 5 black people that they could just start retweeting. Oh my God, I love your shit. It's so great. Like, are you fucking serious? Are you fucking serious? Now, you want to know who is one person that they have done this to? Sunny. Sunny is one of the people that they legitimately did this to. They talk shit about Sunny behind her back the entire goddamn time. And you want to know what's the funniest thing? As soon as Sunny joined them, they got the information that they wanted, and the first thing they did was go online and start talking shit about her. Because that's what they do. These women act like they are in a fucking strip club in fucking Trailer Park Town, which is kind of funny because half of them did come from Trailer Park Town. So I mean, shit. So, I mean, you can take the girl out of the trailer park, but apparently you can't take the trailer park out of the girl. I mean, like, if we're going to do some Beverly Hillbilly shit, this shit is crazy, man. But the whole problem that you have is that a lot of these girls go out here and then they pretend like that is not a fucking problem. That it's all right for them to act like this. Why can't they? How dare you tell them that they can't do something? But that's the insanity of it, right? Why do we have to act like this? And why do we have to make this culture something that it's not? Why do we have to do that? We shouldn't. Another thing. Now, let's talk about the men. Oh God, the incelish men in this community are fucking insane. One of the things that irritated the fuck out of me when it comes to the incelish men in the community is the fact that not only do they go out here and blame the sex workers for all the fucking problems, mind you, they are the ones that created the problems in the first fucking place. They go and say, well, if the sex workers weren't here, we wouldn't have an issue. And then they clump all sex workers with the ones that they themselves are the reason why they're acting the way they are. See, this is the thing I don't fucking understand, right? Where's the accountability and responsibility? Where is that? You can't go out here, praise and pat these girls on the head for doing some evil and nasty shit to one another and other people, and then go, well, if the sex workers weren't here, we wouldn't have this issue. That's like, you want to know what that's like? That's like getting mad at a dog for running under all the tables and knocking over all the silverware and the tableware and all of that shit, right? From table to table, is just knocking them all over, right? And it's running fucking crazy, right? Only to forget that you were the one that smacked it on the ass to get it to do that in the first place. You see what the fucking difference is? See what the problem is? You can't cause an issue, then claim that the issue was there and that's why everything is there. You can't do that when you were the one that created the issue in the first place. This is the problems with the community. There is a lack of accountability. There's a lack of understanding. And the problem is that if these people would stop being and doing the shit that they're doing and just go back to being like, hey, you know what? I don't need to go outside and fucking do all this horrible shit in order to get fucking noticed. I just have to work hard. No. They're constantly doing this. And a lot of these girls have picked up incelish behavior. That's just the truth. They picked up the incelish behavior. So now you have incels that will go out of their way and flip the fuck out whenever there are women, sex workers at a con offering mommy services and call the cops on them and have them arrested for prostitution. Even though no prostitution even took place, they were doing mommy services. So why the fuck are we trying to claim that they are the problem? It doesn't make any sense. Like, I don't get it. That's not prostitution. But because of the way the incels view everything, they're telling people that it is. And the thing is that if you're wondering, I know you're saying, well, the conventions do something about this, right? No. You want to know why they don't? Because there's a reason. And it's actually a kind of funny reason. Because conventions know that is their major clientele. 60% of most conventions have those type of people at them. Now, you're not going to know that every fucking person there has this fucking thought process. But I will tell you, some of them do. And you want to know something? Conventions know that they exist, know that these people are there, and do nothing. Because if they did something, that would create a problem, because that is 60% of the people that are at your con. And guess what? That is a lot of money to be losing out on. They're not going to get rid of those people. It's the same way with the sex workers that go out here and do illegal shit. They're not going to stop them. They're not going to say anything. They're just going to keep bringing them in, because to them, they believe that if the sex workers are there, then that automatically creates more money and revenue for them, because they are under the expectation that everyone is there to see the sex workers, even though that is not true. Think about it. TeddyCon didn't have a shit ton of sex workers that were popular in the community going to it. Not ones that drew money anyway. And guess what? That was true. None of that actually worked. And nobody was there for that. No one went to the con to see them. That was just happened to be a bonus. But a lot of these people do not want to believe that is the case. So what do? They constantly push this narrative. And then they give these women the idea that they are unstoppable. Now, I would like to go back and preface the sexism again. Understand this. If a black male sex worker did the same fucking shit that these women did, guess what would happen? They would be literally hung by the end of the night. That's what they would have done. They would have tarred and feathered that motherfucker, if not hung him by the end of the night. Because that's how fast the community would act on someone of color. But notice that they drag their feet when it's a cis white woman. See the problem? They're not willing to go out there and do that type of shit. They're not. And if they perceive, and let me also push this. It's not an idea. This is the truth. Let me push this, right? If the person was a trans female, they instantly would be thrown under the gutter. Instantly thrown into the gutter. Because that is a trans female. They do not have the patience for trans people. I'm going to read something to you that actually proves that point. Because someone on the T-board had posted that. Now, if it was a Hispanic woman, same exact thing would have fucking happened. They're not going to protect that person like they would the cis white female. Why? because the cis white female fits their more ideal belief of what the community actually is. And anytime there's a person of color, they're going against the norm in their eyes. People of color are not against the norm, but the racism in this community is the norm until it changes sometime in the future. I don't know what else to say to you. Because this is just what the community is. The community is, I said this before, the community has always been racist. The community has always been bigoted. It has always been sexist. It has always been the assholes that they always were. They were always transphobic. They were always. Let me tell you something. You can go back. I said this before. You can go back to some of the stuff from. You can go back to some of the stuff from the early 2000s and the mid 2000s, right? And go back, like Wayback Machine, some of those old forums that used to exist. Go back and Wayback Machine them, and you will find some of the most heinous shit ever fucking said. How many times have they how many times did they disparage trans women? Tell them that they were just crazy people that were taking their kink a little bit too far. How many people would do that? A whole bunch. The community was not what you all think it is. It has always been this problem. This problem has always existed and persisted. Always. Always. It is fucking sad that you all are just now seeing this. This has been there the whole time. It's been there the whole time. It's just that people didn't want to talk about it. But we're talking about it now. Let me read something to you. I want you to understand about how fucking tasteless it is for this community and what the community was okay with for a very long time. I want to read this. I want you to understand, first off, this is not what I am reading to you is not my thoughts. It's not. A matter of fact, before I even read this, I would like to preface something first. I would like to say something like about this, right? I want you guys to understand. I believe that our trans brothers and sisters need to be protected in this community. I believe that they are just as important as any cis person, as any non-binary person, that all genders are valid. And I hate the way that this community treats trans people. It's the reason why I started my actual local group, because I didn't like the way that trans people were being treated in the community. So now we have we have a safe space for people who are trans to go to. I made a safe space for all people to go to, regardless of sex and gender. I don't like the things that I hear out of this community. Fuck, I don't like the things I hear out of the sex work industry and community, and I don't like what I hear out of the kink community, because in the kink community, being a person of color is a kink to some people. It is a kink to some people. And that's wrong. These are our siblings that are out here in the community with us. These are our trans brothers, our trans sisters, our trans siblings that are out there. I say that for non-binary and everything else. All of them are valid. And the sheer fact that the community will come up with some excuse to throw them under the bus is fucking disgusting. I don't stand for it when they do it to black people, and I sure as fuck won't stand for it when they do it to trans people either. I want you to understand, I don't agree with this. I don't. I don't agree with what I'm about to read, but I want to read it because I want you to understand the emphasis of the shit that the community does believe. And I would like to thank the T-Board for posting this, because had they not posted this, you wouldn't have had a really good example, except for what, one of the designers for Little for Big said years ago. So let's talk about that, right? It's not rocket science. If guys are looking for, if guys are looking at diaper girl websites, they don't want to see a man in girl's clothes who might have cut off his dick. That's not transphobic, it's heterosexuality. Trans women are not women. They are men with associative identity disorder, body dysmorphia, and body integrity identity disorder. There's plenty of places and demographics that are interested in this. It's just not the right place for a heterosexual diaper girl site. The spanking ABDL site did similar with a trans, and it killed them. They didn't even state it was a dude, and that is another big problem. Deceiving. I think Ageplay 24/7 is the website for gay and trans content. It used to be hetero with Arya and some of the other girls. Now it's all that fat gay dude and trans go there. And trans. Oh God, this is so bad. It's so poorly written with run-on fucking sentences. All the fat gay dude and trans. Go there. You will make more money and actually get desired attention. That is the way that these people in the community actually view trans people. Do not think that that was a one-off. Because again, there are people in the community who have made these statements multiple fucking times. You had someone in the popular crowd call a person a fake trans person. Who the fuck does that? And then, like, the excuse is always, well, I was on drugs. Yeah, you're always on fucking drugs. Coughing down some scissor. Wow, that was, wow. That joke was, like, 20 years in the fucking making, I guess. Yeah, it's, this is real, this is shit. This is all dog shit. Why are we allowing these people to even be able to go to events with the rest of with all the others? Because they are the majority of people that pay good money in the community. This is why you need more affordable cons, because losing them wouldn't be much of a problem for those conventions. I think about the fact that I work with Jamboree, right? And Jamboree takes a lot of pride in what they do. They take a lot of pride in the fact that they want to keep people safe. They take a lot of pride in trying to create an environment and experience that everyone would love. And they don't stand for people making statements like this. They don't. This is why I keep saying to the community, if you want to clean this up, if you want to make things better, right? Go and talk to your local community, your local events. Talk to the cons that you go to. Let them know that you don't want this at the con. Let them know that. Because this is where the crux of the issue always comes from. This is where the crux of the issues and the toxicity comes from. Allowing some of these girls that are out there to go out here and do shit that has with no consequences. That's a problem. You can't do that. The other issue is the fact that no one is speaking up. No one's speaking up. If you spoke up, these people would not be able to go to cons. Honestly, I think that these people are a security risk since they're over here collecting information on pillows. That That's a shitty fucking thing. But seeing as they dox their own friends' real names, and I say friends on quotations, because there were a lot of them that came up and said, I never consented to them saying my real name out loud like that, and they would still do it all the time. I have friends that are sex workers. I never call them by their real name. And if I have ever done it, I always apologize, because I know that sometimes I'll say it out of accident. These people are not saying it out of accident. They are saying it on purpose. And they're doing it to damage one another. Because they want to hurt the other models. Now, for those of you that are upcoming models in the community, understand this. There are people that you can work with that will not be like this. That are absolute sweethearts. But what you need to start doing is actual, research into the people that you want to work with. That's what you need to do. Start working with more credible, nicer people. Network with some of those people, but don't network with these women, because they're obviously a problem. This is why I said, I don't want, and I really want you all to understand this, and I will say this again. No one should be doing violence. No one should be stalking people. No one should be doing anything of the sort to harm one another in this community. Ever. You are never supposed to do that. If you have a problem, like on the scale of what I am talking about, you let the conventions and local events know. Tell them you don't want these people here, that they are a danger, because they are going out there and doing things like this. This is something that the community needs to start working on. The other thing that I personally think that the community needs to work on is the drugs. So much of that is going all over the place, and it is insane. The amount of drugs that are in the community now is fucking insane. And I'm worried, because I believe that sometime in the future, people are going to start doing heavier stuff, because the stuff that they're doing now is not on par with the high that they want to get to. And because of that, they are never going to get to that. They're never going to get that high unless they get to something else that's stronger. And I question, how long do we have before that becomes a fucking problem? How long? How long will it be until that becomes an issue? Where fentanyl is going to be there on the fucking floor, and someone picks up a tablet and thinking that someone dropped something and trying to throw it out, and then they start seizuring on the floor. And having to be given Narcan because the potency of that tablet. We've seen that happen to cops. Imagine that happening at a convention. That would destroy the convention's reputation. Excuse me. That would destroy the convention's reputation. And that's what the conventions need to start focusing on now, because there is a lot of overdoses. There's a lot of stuff that you all do not know, such as the overdoses. Let me tell you something. The popular kids have an a really terrible culture where they enjoy going around forcing each other, peer pressuring each other into overdosing for their own entertainment. That's fucking insane. That is insane. There have been situations I was told about from Capcom. Capcom didn't tell me this, but I've heard from people that were at Capcom about the people seizuring on the floor because they were overdosing. Or at a party where one of the popular kids was actually, this was two people. So there were two people from the popular kids that had overdosed at the con, not at the same con. I believe it's two different cons, if I'm not mistaken. But what happened is one of them literally overdosed on the floor and could not get up. They overdosed on the floor, was unable to get up, and were literally having to be helped by their friends to get back up. People had to walk around and over them to try to and get to where they were going because this person was so fucked on drugs. This is bad. This is a problem. You had another girl in the popular crowd that passed out on the floor with her eyes rolling to the back of her head and seizuring because she had overdosed. When is this not going to be a problem? When is the conventions going to say, okay, enough is enough? Because they have to deal with this because these overdoses, they know it's happening. They can't tell the regular public, but they know it's happening. Those that were there for the seizures, they know. They know for a fact that these people were overdosing because they were there at those parties. This is a problem. This is a problem. The community has got to step up its game and actually say, hey, we don't want this here. This makes us look bad. We do not need these people at our convention. We really would like to remove them from the convention. And I would motivate conventions to do so because how long will it be before the situation gets to be too much? That's the thing that I would like to focus on. When will that be too much? We need to come up with something that will change the culture for the better. We don't need this. Because the more that this goes on, the more that people are going to start getting hurt. Or keep getting hurt, for that matter. I feel that the community really needs to focus on this. We need to do better. And I would hope that in the future we are able to do better. Let's focus on making our communities safer by making better environments for people to go to, better conventions, better local events. Go and see if you can volunteer to try to help your event do better. You know who these people are. You just have to warn the people running the event to let them know you don't want them here because they are unsafe. That is the end of today's episode, and I hope that you guys enjoyed that. I'm sorry that it was so long, but I felt like this was a conversation we needed to have. We really needed to focus on this. But anyway, I hope that you all have a wonderful day, and I will see you in the next one. See you later.